Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Boogie Board Tiki Bar. Today, I am joined by Justin Johnson, who's the Chief Growth Officer for the Why of AI. Excuse me, Justin. How you doing today? Thanks so much for joining us.
Doing really well. Excited to talk with you, Kevin.
Me too. And I was going through your LinkedIn and kind of combing your background, and some of your earliest stuff talks about the art of storytelling, and now getting merged with technology, ultimately AI. So I was hoping you could take me through your professional origin story. How did you get interested in storytelling?
Yeah. So I come from kind of a history of juxtaposition. I like to say it's my mom was an interior designer and my dad was a 30-year career military man. And both two ends of the spectrum. One was very order focused. One was very creative focused. Both were entrepreneurs. So I kind of grew up living in this juxtaposition between those two personalities and what can happen when you mix those things. And I think a lot of that has influenced how I think about storytelling and looking at different perspectives, thinking about how those different perspectives can come to light, both personally and professionally. Um, so that's when after college went into advertising because that's an industry of storytellers. So kind of cut my teeth there. Worked on some brands, SC Johnson, Bud Light, M&M's. Lived in Mexico City for a little while doing some stuff for M&M's and Snickers there, and it just gave me the opportunity to work with some of the most creative storytellers, some of the most creative people in the world. And I really thrived in that. Like I really enjoyed the conversations that were happening there. And during that time, I think because a lot of those people that I met, I started to get that entrepreneurial itch. Also just being around that with my parents. So that's when I moved from Chicago to Austin. Started my first startup um, there, and it's been in the startup game now ever since. I was back in the end of 2016, and since then have started and scaled three different businesses. Um, both my last two have been AI native businesses, so that's what's kind of led me now to WhyOfAI, helping other businesses figure out their AI strategy for their own organization.
I want to zoom in on some of those big brands that you work with. You mentioned Disney, Snickers, Anheuser-Busch. You have a memory from those experiences that had a big impact on you and what you do today? Any like particular story come through when you're thinking back to those days?
Yeah, yeah. I was down in Mexico City, um, and we were working on it was kind of a social justice project that we were doing. It was in partnership with Mars Candy. It was with a great organization called Knits, and they help create uh, different apparel or accessories out of recycled goods, plastics, wrappers, things like that, and they help um, women who have had a harder go, at home or with family, give them work, give them jobs, and give them the opportunity to really grow. So we had the opportunity to work with them and help put their story out there, which was really for me going and seeing and meeting these women was such a pivotal moment for me and how I thought about the world and just going back to storytelling as well. Just each one of these women had their own very distinct story of how they got there and the trials and tribulations getting there. And so we wanted to tell those stories. Like we wanted to amplify their voice and show the positive that can come from that, just with the perseverance. I mean, some of these women had, I like to talk about grit just in startups, but it's like, it doesn't even compare to some of
Yeah.
the stories that these women had. So it really opened my eyes to that. And how storytelling can really impact um, obviously their own personal lives, but I think from a brand perspective as well. This organization, MITS, was putting these women first and letting them tell their stories while doing a lot of really good work with sustainability and recycling and using these materials. And their partner with Mars, like they were all in as well. And so they would create different. They had these purses or wallets made out of recycled M&M wrappers. And just giving these women the opportunity to make those things. It was cool. It was a really, really eye opening experience for me.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, yeah. The grit that you hear about in a startup is kind of nothing in the sense of the real world. I think it's important to have those steps back, and it sounds like you got that early in your professional journey. I want to talk
Mm-hmm.
a little bit about some of your entrepreneurial life, specifically about Govi. You and I were talking a little bit before the show about how some of the things that you did there informed your decision to join Y of AI. Can you take me through that experience?
Yeah, yeah. So we started Govi. See, I think it was right around, it was right after COVID. So we had my previous startup, we sunset. It was in sustainable building materials. And once COVID happened, all construction stopped. So it was kind of a natural way to sunset that business. Um, but through that business is where I met Alex, my business partner on WhyOfAI. And we just meshed really well. We had very complementary skill sets. He's an expert in AI, and he's been in AI for decades. Um, and we just worked well together. And I've learned throughout my entrepreneurial journey, like once you find people that you really mesh with, it's a good thing to try to hold on to. So we started brainstorming how we could leverage AI, and this was pre-Chat GPT days. And travel was always a passion. I always kind of grew up loving travel, and that was always something that my mom, in particular, always really pushed to go out there and kind of broaden horizons. So it was something as I was looking about what was next, that was a natural industry to go into. So the whole idea was how could we leverage data and technology and create a truly personalized travel experience for people leveraging AI. So uh, we'd go out and we were pitching the business. We had, a beta that was out there, and we just got so many no's, so many investors that were just like, you know, BS, you're a startup. Like, you can't, I know AI, like, you can't be leveraging AI, you're too small. And it was just no after no after no. And then ChatGPT came out, and it was such a pivotal moment because twofold. One, it made us start thinking about our business differently because even early versions of ChatGPT, we started realizing, okay, this can really amplify and help us make this product stronger. But then once all the other LLMs started coming out, it said like, oh wait, they're actually doing what we're setting out to do and doing it much better because they have the resources to do it. So it was this like really weird feeling of like, this is great, it's going to make our product great. Oh wait, they're doing what we're doing now. But the one thing that was really positive that came out of that was a lot of these investors that we would talk to were then emailing me back like, hey, y'all were talking about AI before ChatGPT. How were you guys thinking about your AI strategy? Like, how did you guys come up with that? Could I introduce you to this founder in my portfolio? They're trying to incorporate AI into it. And so for me, that kind of opened my eyes of these lessons that I learned the hard way as we were trying to build this AI native company pre ChatGPT, and how important having the right strategy, AI strategy is. And I think, like we were talking about, more importantly, what happens when you don't have the right AI strategy and the negative things that can come out of that. So that's when, I talked to Alex, and Alex has been working on Live AI for a number of years. And we're like, this is the business. This is where we need to start helping people is helping people figure out the right AI strategy for their organization, and just get them from 0 to 1 and beyond after that too.
Yeah, I mean that makes total sense. You lived it, and so hey, let's go apply this thing, and maybe not compete with some of these giant LLMs in the space. I think it makes total sense. So you're in Y of AI. Can you take us through maybe your first customer experiences? What are you doing for these clients? What are you actually providing on a service level? What's it look like?
Yeah, so we do everything upstream of development. So the whole idea is that we, same way that you wouldn't go in and start building a house without talking to an architect, getting the plans in place before doing this massive investment. It's the same sort of thing. We want to go in and help them build that blueprint and build that right AI strategy that is linked to their company goals, company pain points, their objectives that they have within the organization. Because there's, a stat out there that 80 to 90% of AI initiatives either don't make it to market or just fail for a number of reasons. But one of the main reasons being just not having the right strategy in place. Because I think it's really easy to, especially in AI these days, to kind of chase shiny objects and jump into something and just start building without aligning it to company goals. So that's what we go in and really help organizations do. So um, we have three kind of core products. Our first product's really just to lay the groundwork, get people a really good, confident understanding of the AI landscape, and then enable them with the same tools, frameworks, methods that we do internally. We basically give them all of our secret sauce, show them how to create their own AI use cases and build those things. And then if they need help after that, those are our other two products where we have a AI use case design and then an AI blueprint where we actually build out the specific use cases that that organization would need for AI.
I love that. That makes total sense. I mean, everybody's head is still spinning, and so having a place to go to slow down and plan things out with someone who's done it makes a ton of sense to me. Just to add some kind of practical flavor to this, could you walk us through maybe one of your customer use cases or experiences to the extent that you're able to? I know you probably do a lot of confidential work, but if there's a customer that comes to mind that has a journey you can share.
Yeah. So we worked with an education company recently where they had hundreds, if not thousands, of proprietary um, uh, pages of content, PDFs, just different uh, unstructured data, basically, of this proprietary content that they've created. And they wanted to build a system that could help create a more one-to-one experience for students and teachers and help them learn at their own pace, at their own level, and really personalize that experience for them. And because they had all this data that was already core to the business and took all the lessons learned that they had within the organization, we saw this opportunity within there to create a chat system with this data. So we built a RAG system around that, which was basically you're leveraging different technology as well as that unstructured data, building that structured data set, and then a system built with AI to interact with that data. So it gave teachers the opportunity to interact with all of this content. It gave students the ability to interact with all of that content. Um, and so it was a win-win for everybody. And it was during that process where we go through a discovery design as the first step of that, where it's the name of the company, WhyOfAI. It's just we really always like to ask why, like get to that first principle thinking of why does this matter? Okay, but why does this matter for this audience? Why is this a thing? And it was through that iterative process during our discovery phase that we kind of unlocked um, the ability to create this tool to help teachers and students learn better ultimately.
That's awesome. I mean, such a practical use case at an education focused company. We often hear about all the examples in sexier industries and high scale manufacturing, and so it's great to hear that type of work being done, in the day to day. And so
Mm.
I'm curious, you're now talking to a bunch of these companies, maybe they're prospects of yours, and you've been in the seat of the person trying to build one of these strategies. Has anything surprised you when you're talking to these folks that maybe didn't resonate for you when you were in the seat? Like, oh, I didn't understand that customers were going through this when they were trying to build out a blueprint or a set of tools.
Um, yeah, I mean, honestly, I think every day you always get those little nuggets in every sales call. It's all customer discovery, and
Mhm.
it's the one of the early learnings for me was at first where I was really talking about, it's this FOMO of AI. It's like all these organizations don't they have this fear of missing out on AI, and um, they're going to miss the ship before it's at sale. And what I realized with that, the more of these conversations that we were having, it's that it's not really this fear of missing out on it. It was really this fear of messing it up. That everyone knew that they needed to be thinking about AI. That wasn't the job to sell. As having these sales conversations, it was I don't want to go and make this big investment and then 5 years from now everything's outdated, or
Mm.
put millions of dollars, we build this proprietary thing, and then I can just go on Claude and pay $20 a month, and it's doing better than what we just built. And that has come up time and time again. Of it's just not wanting to make the wrong investment, and really avoiding those sunk time, sunk costs, just overall sunk effort into something that might not be right. So it was a interesting turn, going back to the storytelling that I had to think about and internalize of how I talked about why it's important. Where
Mm.
it's not missing out on it, it's just messing it up, and helping our clients understand that that's what we're here for. We have our line is, turn AI chaos into clarity. There's just so much happening in AI every day, and it's a full-time job just to keep up with that we want to take all of those opportunities, go through our process, and ultimately get them to the right AI strategy, turning all of that chaos into clarity for them, where they feel confident at the end of the day.
That leads me to my last question. You bring up that there's a lot going on. You have to synthesize this information yourself to then propose to clients. Obviously, you have a team doing this, but I think most people agree that we're early innings on this entire journey. What are you most curious to see how things unfold from a business and commercial landscape in the AI world? And then how do you keep a pulse on all that's out there while still running your business?
Um, I'll answer the second part first. I think it's an easier one to answer. So I'll start with that. The keeping a pulse on it is, we have our full team that is constantly reading reading papers, staying updated on all the who's who in AI. It's really really incredible. As someone that I'm certainly not an AI expert, compared to the rest of my team that have been doing this for decades. But you have where before it would mostly be educational institutions, Stanford, MIT, publishing all these papers, which they still are, but now you have all of big tech, different organizations. You have Meta, you have Google, you have these companies that are now out there publishing papers as well on a daily basis. Of all these innovations and different models that's just progressing so fast. And I think we see a little bit of that just with how LLMs kind of develop and grow. And that's just scratching the surface of what's happening in AI and machine learning. But I think that's one of the biggest things, that it's not AI or does not just mean LLMs. It's a huge network of capabilities that we think about and um, try. to dissect in a way that we can help our clients. So in the first part of the question, I would love to see AI. There's a few projects that we're trying to get started that are really leveraging AI for good, and I would love to see more of that happening, especially within climate and sustainability. I think just especially with all the recent news that's happening there, I think there's a massive opportunity to leverage AI in those sorts of tackling those sorts of really big problems that again it's like we're just scratching the surface of what's possible there. And I think it's really easy to always point out the negative in new technology and think about killer robots and taking over, Skynet, coming live and everything. But I like to shine a light on the opportunity that it has to solve a lot of really big um, social, environmental problems that the world faces right now. And I think that's another opportunity that we're just scratching the surface on, that I'm excited to see where that can go, and the smart people behind that can solve those problems. Hopefully we can be one of them. I'd like to. We're working on it.
I love that. I love that. Aim it in the right direction. That's a great note for us to end on. And I know we've got some companies in the space that listen to this, and so reach out to the Why of AI team. I'll link Justin when we post the video and some of the snippets. So Justin, I really appreciate this talk, and I'm excited to continue to follow your journey.
Yeah, Kevin, this was fun. I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me.